How's it going, everyone? We're here with another episode of The Throw Show. We've taken a little bit of a hiatus because Dane has been traveling all around the world for the last month or more. But we have him zoomed in today. He's in Eugene at the World Championships. How's it going, Dane?
Good, except I only had one pillow to sleep with, and I woke up at 3 in the morning. I'm like, why am I up at 3 in the morning? And then I'm texting my wife, and she's like, it's 6 o'clock at home. That's when you wake up.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So I'm a couple cups of coffee deep right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So basically what we're going to do today is go through a couple of the monster throws that we've missed over the last couple weeks, and then do a preview of the World Championships coming up this weekend and into next week. So first off here is Joe Kovacs just going off at the U.S. Championships. Can you see what I'm seeing, Dane?
Yeah, I can see that, and I just want to add that comp, it was, I was actually sitting directly behind, about 3 rows up, and when Joe was warming up, it's a classic Joe warm-up of just smashing throws, Krauser going in calmly and just stroking him, and also sort of responding to him in warm-ups. It was like the first time I had seen Ryan sort of like, all right, I'll pop a couple off in warm-ups as well. And when he went, what was crazy to me is he goes 22.87 on his first throw, and any other thrower would be like, holy crap, 22.87, I've got to come back and try to beat this dude who just went 22.87. And Krauser was like, whatever. I'll throw 23 3 times. It's like, what the heck? It was just like it's an unbeatable mark. 22.87 is an unbeatable mark that was beaten multiple times. So I was, just blown away by that.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
I mean, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but do you think Joe or Krauser would be throwing as far if one of the other ones weren't there to push them?
I think that's a great question, but I also think those guys are just in a league of their own. I think that they're like the like I would say the Tom Brady of throwing. I think they're like the Jordan Burroughs or John Smith of throwing. Like, these are guys that just completely can change a sport. And I think them, and with Tom Walsh as well, I think it's just like they sort of they're so personally motivated that are internally motivated. I think they would. I really do.
Yeah.
Especially because Joe's now, I think, 33. I think it's like they were just wired to be who they are. And I think that, for sure they push each other, no doubt. But I also just believe, like, they are that internally driven to be the best ever.
Yeah, it's like if you ask them why they're doing what they're doing, like, Joe's not going to say, I'm doing it so I can beat Ryan Krauser. Krauser isn't going to say, I'm doing it so I can beat Joe, That's not why they're doing it.
I think with Ryan, it's like, look at how good he was when he was in college, or when he was in high school. Like, no one was as good as him, and it didn't matter. And I think that Joe sort of came up a different way. He threw like 64 in high school, and then just kept chipping and chipping and chipping. And I think that I just think they're it sort of sucks to me that they're existing at the same time, but it's also such a pleasure as a spectator, as a coach within the sport, to see. And like yesterday, I'm going to Coach Sam, and the first thing that happens is I get out of the Uber, and Joe, I can see Joe getting ready, and I pull up my phone because I'm like, what? I want to record this, and it's, boom, and you can see all the lines. And the last line, I swear, has to be 75 feet. Like, it was so freaking far. And he's like a foot and a half over it.
So what you're
So,
saying is it's
yeah.
going to be a good competition.
Yeah, and they have the flight scope was set up yesterday behind the circle, so
Oh,
they
really?
knew what he was throwing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Pippery was there, Tunde was there. Maggie was throwing, Jess Woodard was throwing, but I asked the one guy who I actually have to email Trevor because he got a whole bunch of drone footage of Sam, so I do need
Oh,
to
really?
email him. But
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
he's like, he was like, it would surprise me if the world record's not broken Friday or Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. So, what was I going to ask? Shoot, it left me. Something about, I don't know.
$100,000 is on the line to break the world record,
That's a lot of money.
and 70. I think it's 70 to the champ.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, that's going to be a monster comp. I mean, obviously, Krauser's in good shape, going over 23 meters 3 times at the U.S. champs. Yeah, it's going to be nuts. But men's shot isn't everything. Women's shot is also going off the rails. Chase Ely, this is the... I am confident saying that this is the furthest spin by a woman ever. 2051.
You know, I hadn't really thought of that. What did the Chinese girl throw this year who spins?
I can look at the... Let me
Is that
look at...
2030?
Yeah, it might have been somewhere around there.
The one, because she was actually throwing yesterday. Her and Gong were throwing yesterday at Lane.
Okay. Yeah, she threw 2038.
2038.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be, dude, that's going to be interesting. And you know, you say that, and you can see on that list even with Sarah Mitten in there at 2033. So, like, with the women's spin, this is where there could be, like, a push where it's almost like the 4-minute mile. It's like no women are throwing 2050. Chase hits 2050. Maybe that next mark's 21, and all of a sudden Chase or someone pops off at 21,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 women spinners peppering that line, because you're starting to see, especially with this new generation of women coming up that have been spinning for quite a while. I was just actually thinking about Schilder, Maggie, Fanny Roos, the other girl from Sweden, Axelina was throwing yesterday. All those women coming up are going to be, you know, they're young enough that they could start to really push that barrier.
Yeah, yeah, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think prior to 2021 there was one, and I can't remember who this was, but I remember looking that there was one spinner who had gone over 20. But if you look, you know, over the last, you know, year, there have been 5 spinners, new spinners who've gone over 20.
Well, I'm looking at that list right now, and I'm going, the woman from New Zealand, Madison, you know, she's got a 99 birth date, right? So she's 23. So
Right,
it's like,
so she's on the verge.
and she's gamed up. Last year at Worlds, she popped off, and it's like, you just go down the list. And how far deep is she? She's like number 12 or something.
I mean, yeah, you look at, and you know, Urinde and Adelaide too. You know, they're all Urinde's a 2000 birth.
Yeah, Urinde. So it's like, dude, we're gonna start to see these numbers go from, you know, low 20s, high 19s, which are phenomenal throws by all accounts. I am not
Absolutely
downplaying that, but those numbers are going to really, really start to pop off. And you could see, you know, just look at Sarah. Like, I remember when Sarah was gliding, throwing like 1640, and she was a beast back then. It's like, you know, that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And she's only been spinning for 4 or 5 years, and now she's throwing 20, 33. It's like, and she's young. She's not that old.
Yeah. I feel like we can say this now that publicly, that remembering back, I think was it 2020 or 2019 when Sarah came out to the gym, and she was taking, it was either a warm-up throw or a fouls at like 1950 or like 1930 or something like that, and that was was 3 years ago. So
she marked it like 1855 at that meet.
Right. And so, we knew kind of deep down what she was capable of, and it's awesome to just see it, all come into fruition now.
I think, too, what you're seeing, because, women's strength training has been just almost horrifically researched, too. It's really been like a disservice. But you're starting to see, the coaches, and we talk about this on Garage Strength's channel all the time, but it's like, coaches are 10 years ahead of researchers, and you're seeing this with women's strength work. Women now have more speed, they have more tension in the circle that they can control, and Sarah is like a case in point. And also, what is she, 5'5", 5'6"? Like, she's not tall. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you get someone like her who's an absolute powerhouse. She's been trained phenomenally by Richard. And now you're starting to see these numbers with the technique, and I do think I really like her movement, and I think that think about Sarah had she been spinning when she was in 7th grade,
right?
And you bring her up from 7th grade spinning the entire time, and she never even, like someone like Maria, who's 21 and throwing 18 meters, and she's never even, I don't think Maria ever glided, did she?
No.
So she's a girl who could be a 20-meter thrower in 3 or 4 years.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And that would have been unheard of before.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's cool with what's
too short, Dane, though. She's too short.
Huh?
She's too short.
Oh, yeah, she's too short. She's too short. Doesn't matter if she power cleans under 25 kilos, or 20 kilos. Same with Sarah. You know how strong Sarah is. It's like, oh, she's just too short. She throws really far, but you know what? I'm not going to recruit her because she's too short.
She's probably not going to develop.
Yeah, it's just like going back to where we are in the sport. I'd say it's like I almost feel like the women's shot is, as far as technique and strength work is concerned, it's where the men's shot was like 15 years ago, because we've done such a bad job of understanding volume and intensity with women, and now we're starting to really develop that and get a clue. And you're seeing what's happening, and it's just going to keep, we're going to have, I think we're entering like a 10-year period of where the distances are just moving. When I was in college, an 18-meter throw would win the national championship. 1805 would win it. Now that barely even makes the final. And it really almost didn't make the final this year.
Right.
So it's pretty cool, especially when you put the cherry on top of Krauser and Walsh and Joe.
Yeah. And then with discus too.
Oh, yeah, this is just a whole nother discussion.
So
you look at Alekna and Che, man, it's gonna be.
Is this gonna have to be renamed the Alekna Show at some point?
Hey, by the way, I wanted to bring this up because we've talked about them, and we have to bring them up for like the 30th throw show in a row. I don't know. I want to see if you can guess who I'm going to talk about.
Romero?
Yeah. So yesterday I was in the dining commons, and Alekna just reminds me of him.
Yeah.
And he was grabbing some stuff, and then he came over and he's like, "You're Alex's coach," and I was like, "Yeah." And then I started to talk to him about Maria. And so he had this like, "Oh shit, you're the same guy that coaches Alex, you also coach Maria." Like, yeah. He's way bigger than I thought he was. Like, way bigger. He's broad
like
and
thick.
way taller. And I haven't been giving him that, like his shoulders, he doesn't have the muscular definition of like Sam, but he's just huge.
Yeah.
So I wanted to tell you that because I had a good talk with him, and then
Cool.
thinking about Alekna, it's like, this is the stuff that you look at and you go, all right, this is a good question. So Alekna's been probably throwing discus since he was 7 or 8 years old. Think about this: what would Ryan Krauser be throwing had he spun when he was in 5th grade? Or does it not matter because he has such a beast finish? It doesn't matter. I don't know.
Right.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's talked before about how, he kind of views his finish as more linearly, and I think he, might associate some of that to his beginnings in the shot put, and and I think it's like, I think personally there's something. I think one of the big things, even from like a developmental standpoint, like, young throwers and the extreme value of getting lots of reps in when you're young is that you learn how to just transfer energy into the shot put, or the discus. And because I think that is the hardest thing at the end of the day, the hardest thing to actually really get comfortable with is just, being able to transfer energy through your feet, through your body into the implement. And whether you're gliding or you're spinning, I think you're still kind of accomplishing that. And so, but if you're really looking at, like, in an ideal world, would he have a little extra with a little more reps from the spin? Like, I would say probably, but it might be like, I don't know. I think it'd be a pretty small proportion, especially because he's been spinning for 8 years now, probably more, or 10 years now. I don't know.
Yeah, probably 10.
10, because we're the same age.
You're the same age as Krauser.
Yeah. What am I doing?
Hey, what do you think Alekna's going to throw at Worlds this year?
I don't know.
Does he medal?
Dude, that's a good question. I mean, I actually think there's less pressure on him at the World Championships than there were at NCAAs. And so, like, one thought is, and we didn't talk about this, how, Romero beat Alekna by, what was it? Was it a centimeter at the at NCAAs, which is just insane in and of itself. But I actually think he could really go off, because it's just like, I've got nothing to lose, I've got everything to prove,
And this throw here was at Stockholm. Che was there, Stahl was there, Gudzius was there, Sam was there.
Yeah.
Okoye, I think, was there. This was against those top dogs.
Yeah.
And Che ended up going 70 plus, but that was another thing that to factor in, is that he was in that comp and he responded to Alekna. Alekna then responded, and then Che responded again.
Right.
And until the 6th round, Daniel Stahl was sitting at like 64 meters until the 6th round.
Oh, dang, I didn't know
That's
that.
another interesting thing to bring in, is that the person who has the most pressure right now in men's discus is Daniel Stahl. And in reality, there's pressure on Che, but it's not absurd. He's never medaled at an international comp like
Right.
this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. I mean, and at the end of the day, like sometimes you just don't hit one, or the one you hit is like a sector foul, or and that just happens. And I feel like there are a lot of discus competitions where you see, there's one outstanding throw that might be 2 or 3 meters beyond the thrower's next best. And, it's always like, well, what if just something happened on that one throw and it's not there, Yeah. So I think, obviously things can be shaken up all the time, but yeah, I mean, that's going to be a good competition. And even women's disc, I think too, I think just with the rise of Valerie, like, has been insane, but can't count out, Perkovic yet. she's still going strong.
It's like a whole nother story of like the women's discus because of someone like Perkovic. To me now, you're seeing her. She, I believe, changed the sport, and now all of the women that were influenced by her when they were younger are now at the world stage.
Right.
And Val, Olympic champion. I got to see her training yesterday. She was throwing with Brian Williams and Sam yesterday, and it's crazy to watch someone like her who has so much speed, so much power, and it's funny watching her do non-reverses because it's like she is so explosive. She like struggles to control it on the nons, and was just sending them like, dude. It was like watching a video game. So, and also I wanted to tell you, just watching her warm up and go through her process of like establishing her rhythm in a training session is really, really unique, and I think a really good process of getting a good session in, like getting herself dialed in with technique before she starts to slam her throws. The women's disc, the women's hammer, it's just this might end up being the best all-around world championships ever for the throws.
Yeah, I definitely think that's possible. Which leads us into the hammer. So to really just shaken up, and it's like very disappointing that we have two of the world's best hammer throwers not in this competition because of, Anita. I don't know, and we never covered this. This was a little while ago, but and Dane, you heard about this, right?
Yeah, she got her ankle chasing a robber.
Yeah, she like basically fought off someone trying to break into her car. Broke her ankle in the process, and now can't throw at the world championship. So that's just absurd. And then also Deanna Price is also, I guess, pulled out because she's got sick after the U.S. championships.
Yeah, I think it's like a culmination of her injured ankle. It was either ankle or hip, and then I think she got COVID pretty bad. I think she got it pretty bad from my understanding. And I think that what's going to be interesting, and dude, we've got like, I believe, by all accounts, inflation not being counted in here, I believe that this is the most lucrative world championships ever. $70,000 to the leader. I think in the years past it's been like 60 or 50.
Now, is that from the U.S.? That's from the U.S.
No, that's across the board. That's from World Athletics.
Really? Oh my goodness! Yeah. Wow.
So the big thing here is like, you take someone like Brooke, and she's on the and for all the women there's like 5 or 6 players that could come in and do damage. There's a lot of money on the line, like a ton of money.
Yeah.
So it's one of those areas where it's going to be interesting if that's motivation at all, or if it's just like they're just going to go out and compete. I'm interested to see what Brooke does, Janaea, what she does, or Janae. I always screw that up. I'm sure Jason's rolling his eyes right now. I'm very interested to see how that all plays out because I think the women's hammer is up for grabs. I think the men's hammer, Rudy was in the best form at nationals, but there's probably 4 or 5 people in the men's hammer that could shake things up. So, and then you look at Curtis Thompson. I know we have him coming up here in the men's javelin. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
Going 87-70, that's absolutely huge.
Yeah,
Huge. And I was even watching this and like, maybe it was really windy or something. Like, it didn't seem that windy. Look at the flags.
Yeah.
They're not even moving. So, like, he might come out here and just, now that, he was real close at nationals, but he just didn't crack one. And now he might come out and it might be, game over.
Yeah. I know. I mean,
So-
yeah. I'm just looking right now, looking at the list. Like, 87. That's that's top 8. Probably even 84, 80, probably 83 or 82 even is going to make the final.
Well, and like last year, what won the Olympics? I think it was 88 or 87.
Yeah.
It wasn't that deep.
Right.
A lot of the big dogs did not perform well, so
Yeah.
we don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea really what's going to happen. And like if you look at the men's hammer just up ahead of that, it's like, dude, I actually saw Novicki this morning. First of all, he's just an absolute monster. I'm sitting there eating breakfast, and I'm like, oh, there's an Olympic champ. There's like 4 Olympic champs coming in. And I'm watching him, and I'm going, dude, if you look at if Haw pops off or Rudy pops off, they could, in theory, snipe these guys. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So it's just, it's every single event doesn't really have a full-blown, clear-cut leader. I would say women's discus probably has it the most, but even then, it's like, well, you never know,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you said it right that this is going to be, one of the highest performing world championships that has ever been. So
I think the big shocker is going to be men's discus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we're going to see a lot, and it could almost be like a changing of the guard.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, do you want to go through and make any predictions?
Ooh.
We're all men
I
shot.
want to make a bold prediction that Joe Kovacs breaks the world record.
Does he keep it though?
That's my only issue. I don't think he will.
Two throwers over the world record.
Yeah, it's like I think either one of them. I don't know if he'll keep it. I want to make a prediction. I have this feeling that it's going to be like 2077 to make the final, to make the top 12 is what my prediction.
To make the top 12, not the top 8 in the next, in the final.
Yeah.
2077, is that what you said?
Yeah, I could, I just want to throw it out there. I just feel like it's not going to be as deep as everybody thinks, because in 19 it was 2090.
Yeah.
So
I mean, what
I'm
we've got,
to see,
we got maybe like, I don't know, 15 to 20 throwers over 21 now, but yeah, I mean, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in the actual competition, so I think that's a good guess.
And then I think, like, looking at, men's discus, dude, I think, I'm going to be honest, like, I think there's a chance that Daniel Stahl does not medal.
I mean, I
really, really think that could happen.
Yeah.
And dude, I think he's one of the best of all time. But I think there's a lot of pressure on him right now, and there's a lot of really good guys coming up that don't feel that. And
so if he doesn't medal, who wins?
In discus?
Yeah.
Dude, you know what's funny? I want to say Che, but last year he almost didn't even make the final at the Olympics. So it's like, I'm just slightly hesitant. I think it's going to be like dude, I don't know.
I'm going to make one.
I'm going to lean towards Che or Alekna, but
I'm going to make, my one prediction for discus is that Alekna beats Che.
oh, wow.
That's it. That's all I'm saying.
No, I'm serious.
They could both throw 63 meters, but
Natty Denny hasn't been throwing that well. He got sick and was a little banged up with travel, but he's another guy that could come out and pop something off. You can't count him out. Peterson, we're not even really talking about. He's been inconsistent this year, but we just never know.
he can still go off.
With the top dogs, I think Che and Alekna are going to medal. I really do.
Here,
and then you got to look at like Weiss Heininger, Goodsius in there. maybe Ramiro or, what if Sam or Alex is in good shape? I mean, ideally, that's what I would want to happen. One of those guys can pop off. It's not going to be that easy for Daniel Stahl to go out and win the world title.
Yeah.
Now, I say that, and he did have that monster throw this year, so it could happen. I hope I'm proven wrong. I don't like being wrong, but it would show. I'm also one of those guys that loves dynasties. I love Tom Brady. I love long-term dynasties. So if Stahl comes out and wins this year, I would put a lot of weight on this as like, wow, he won one of the toughest world championships in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
Trevor, we only have about 1 minute 10 seconds left. I don't know if you noticed that.
Okay. Why don't we do women's shot real quick?
Ooh, jeez. Oh, man, I don't even... You know what I want? Dude, I think because I just like Sarah so much, I think she's so cool. I want to see Sarah medal. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I would love to see Sarah medal.
I mean, that's not a very bold claim. I think that's I mean, especially just how consistent she's been. I feel like over, peppering 20 meters, I feel like, her last few meets.
Chase, Adelaide, Sarah, Dongmo, they're going to be top 4, I think.
Yeah. What's the cutoff for a medal? What do you need for a medal? What distance?
1979.
All right. I think that's.
Val's gonna walk through I think Val will walk through everything though in the discus.
Yeah.
She's too good.
Yeah. Dane just left, so we ran out of Zoom time. But World Championships is going to be absolutely insane. We will have another throw show afterwards doing a recap. But outside of that, peace everyone.